Darkness falls upon the camp. Ed said himself, Adele the Bard is gone. The scenario that I know of has completely changed. The closest major event to me now is the battle to defeat Lucy. The skill points and experience and all the unique skills to be had there will be a great help for the upcoming 4th chapter. The fact that Taylor's growth has been stunted is a big source of anxiety. I can't cling on to this twisted story for too long. But Taylor's growth is supposed to be my insurance. And the battle against Lucy is an important event that allows Lucy to let go of Glocked. I think it would help me gauge where we are if I talk to her. But Lucy, who always stuck around, napping, hasn't come to the camp in many days. Are things really okay? He was unable to stop thinking. With frustration, Ed grinched his teeth. I don't fully remember. But the dream was a nightmare. After the upcoming final exams, the school break will come. Scene shifted to Ed sitting outside and looking at a book. Is it because of the sudden relaxing environment? I remember, before I came here, I dreamt of this every moment. Phonia asked Taylor. Ed seems troubled lately. Taylor replied, yes, he says he's okay. But I have a bad feeling about this. Everything seems to be normal on the outside. He's busy, as always. He does what he needs to within the camp, diligently, attending all his classes and studying. This is just an assumption, but it seems like he has a lot on his mind. Both of them expressed their genuine worry about Ed. But Taylor expressed his worry. As you know, Ed's relationships are a bit complicated. And Ed being troubled isn't that common. Some might even see this as an opportunity. Competition might get even more heated. At the cabin, Janica and Ed sat outside and talked. She said she can handle low-level spirits now. But she is worried about her mana getting twisted. But with confident smile, she said she will try hard with Ed with her side. She said she need to leave soon because of the upcoming exam. Then she took her staff and cast a spirit summoning spell. With a golden light, a cute little spirit appeared. With happiness it spoke, you finally called me, Lady Janica. By exhausting mana completely, Janica began to fall. But Ed catched her in his hand. Suddenly, her face began to blush. She told the spirit monk to go inside. Ed patted her head and asked, are you not fully recovered? You seem to have a fever. But suddenly, ruining the moment for Janica, Lortell entered the scene, with controlling her anger said she came to visit Ed. But seeing Janica's new cabin near to Ed's cabin, Lortell asked with serious voice. She said she needs explanation. Janica, getting back to herself, asked, is that you, Lortell? But with confident smile, she said she decided to move with Ed. We are living together now. That pisses Lortell. By controlling her anger. Living together? But it's appropriate to tell you are a neighbor. Lortell said she came here to exchange an information with Ed. He need to buy his things now. He asked, why already? Is it cheap now? With confidence Lortell said, you and especially Janica, hear this information. Janica standing next to Ed replied, we are living together now. So you don't need to specify any of us. By hearing this, Lortell became pissed again, and red aura appeared. Suddenly controlling her anger, she decided to leave. But before leaving to worry, Janica Lortell said this is a nice place with fresh air and stream nearby. That's why Lucy came to sleep here. Janica's eye widened. The scene shifted. A maid approached Alice with a letter left by Lortell, and said Lortell offered a job to Alice if she want. While opening the letter, Alice surprised that salary will be 3 gold coins per day. That is a lot of money. At Ed's place he was fixing roof. Suddenly he heard a voice. Is this the Ed I'm hearing about? And he formally introduced. He was sent by Lady Lortell. My official title is Sales Manager Dune of the LT Trading Company's Sylvania branch. Girl next to him is Rihanna. He came for survey, and Lady Lortell said she needs to build a cabin out here. Ed was shocked. Is she serious? While Ed climbed down, the staffs began to unpack and take measurements. Sales manager said, Ed is someone special for her employer. She doesn't like to send her employees right here. She is like an ordinary girl here. But in company, she is a cold-blooded person. He offered Ed a bottle and said, it is very expensive. Once Reina took one glass and, suddenly Reina shouted, "Stop talking about others' embarrassing moments like that, Poon." Scene shifted to Claven's store. Ed was checking the things he needed to purchase. Then he noticed a girl sneaking and covering her face with a book. Anis? Suddenly caught by Ed, she nervously began to speak about the recent incident and the injuries. She wished him to take care. After a silence, Ed said thanks. She began to run away, but suddenly began to fall. Inside the bag, he noticed a Sprott, and a rotten apple and molded bread. He gave the bag back. She began to blush and said she is not trying to impress it. Being poor is something ashamed of. Tears fell down her eyes. Do I need to impress you? What are we? Dating, huh? Humiliated by her own words, she sat down on the floor and started crying. In the original story, Anis Halen is known to be a commoner who is more noble-like than most nobles, but her family went bankrupt as soon as she entered the academy, forcing her to work too. Anis bought him a cookie and they sat down on a wooden bench near a water fountain. To break the awkward silence, she said, "New professor is coming in place of Professor Mlass." She came to purchase supplies that on low. Then she began to talk about the discounts compared to last month, and don't think her weird. He replied, "We are quite similar. Survival." He is living in a forest and thinking about food. For her dorm is the forest. She became relaxed and said thanks while leaving. Scene shifted to forest. Ed reached his cabin, but Lortell was waiting for him with a bottle near the campfire. She mocked him, while on low funds having expensive wine is not good. While looking at the bottle, Lortell said, "Dune sometimes steals funds here and there, bringing in items like this. He doesn't even realize that I know he does this. If he oversteps me, I can use this against him." She hugged his hand, began to flirt. Outside the dorm building, they two were walking. She talked about her dream to become more rich. By replying to his questions, she asked, "Are you worried about me?" He said he is worried. That surprised her. Then with happiness she said, "Then we should share our weakness. If he said his, she will tell hers." While stopping, he said with serious tone, "You asked me before that I killed anyone? That time I said I haven't, but I killed someone." He thought about his past life and military services, and explained he participated in war and killed countless people. It made him tear inside. But day by day he gone numb to those feelings. When you are on survival, surviving is the only thing in our head. With sad voice, he expressed everything while remembering the past sad memories. That is the reason why he decided to not become comrades with anyone. But lately he forgot that himself. That is his weakness. She began to speak about her weakness. Some rat sneaked into the trading company. To solve that, she is increasing the prices of supplies. He expressed his doubt. Is that the guy done? He already bought liquor and embezzled funds. She said, "This is not him. Someone else. When the price rise, they will sell before they do, and run. At that time they will catch. I'll probably kill someone." She talked about past and how her poor parents starving sold her to the elite. 3 gold coins were the money they got by selling her. That is why she is scouting people with 3 gold coins per day. She is not bothered about someone stabbing her from the back. While looking at Ed's face, she told, "You know the reason." He replied, "You don't want to be disappointed." She hugged his hand and both of them looked at the moon. Scene shifted to next day morning. Sound of Alice heard that she was apologizing to Roth Taylor. Alice thanked her for the job offer, but with the commitment she already had, she can't take the job. She offered her for a part-time job. While Alice go and nurse Janica, Roth Taylor want to do something nearby. Twice a week. With glowing eyes, Alice accepted the offer. Our cunning Lortell handed her a contract to sign. The poor maid signed it. At Ed's place, he was thinking about past memories, and he was crafting a staff. Scene shifted to Tanya's place. She opened a letter from her father. In that letter, he wrote she can come home for the vacation. If it is possible, he requested to bring Ed along with her. She was shocked. She can't believe her eyes what she just read. In the morning, Tanya was whining about her head hurts and opened the door. Suddenly he noticed Lucy was standing in front of her. Tanya was shocked. She screamed, then politely bowed her head. "Do you have something to say to me?" While covering her face with her hat, Lucy apologized for the previous incident. With awkwardness, Tanya scratched her head and talked about the weather being nice. "Are you going to my brother's camp?" But Lucy's face became red and she became shy. The Lucy with the don't care policy is now talking about sleeping in someone else's place, and her skirt became dirty. Because of that, she worried about looking nice. Tanya and the maid were shocked, like thunderbolts struck them. Lucy is worried about her looks? The maid with confidence said to Lucy, "You are beautiful, and I vow by my title that I will make you even more beautiful." At the forest, Janica was staring at Lortell's new cabin like a ghost. Even a pigeon landed on the cabin become fry because of the stare she made. Then Ed summoned his spirit with a newly crafted staff. Janica was happy seeing his staff. He offered her the staff to try. While using it, she was surprised about how efficient this staff is to control mana. She then offered it back to Ed, but he refused. "It is made for her. She'd done a lot of things for him. This for you. Anyway, I'm going to make another." With tears, she hugged the staff. At the Students' Plaza, students looking at the notice board about the exam notification. It depends on the subject, but Ed need to worry about both the written and field exam. But this only applies to the middle and upper students. The written exam maxes out at 100, but the field exam has no max limit. So the top students of each class always maintain their place with their field exam scores. This applies to Wade, top of the first year as well. I don't even need to mention Lucy, top of the second year. So if you want top marks, what matters most is the field exam. And the top scorer of my grade is Janica the third year. I hear there's a practice exam with professors. In the first place, most students, besides exceptions like Lucy or Janica, don't have the skill to face off against a professor. But the top student is exempt from all tuition. While Ed walking juniors were bowing with respect, he entered student council room. Tanya talked about the letter. His father also wrote he wishes to accept Ed back to the family. He would like to offer him a chance. While looking at the letter, he said, "Everything is good, but his father tried to assassinate him. This may be a trap." She said, "This can't be. She will come with him." He thought of his own plans. Back then, the Cloel Empire was still at war with the demi-humans. The forces of the demi-humans had reached the capital of Cloeron. At that desperate time, the hero who led the armies of the Emperor from the front, Obel Forcius, and the 3 young mages who assisted him, Glast the Seeker, Tellin the Carver, and the outcast Caladade. Now, the outcast who had been fading into history has returned to Slyvania Academy. Claire opened the room and started coughing from the cigar smoke. With worry, she told the new Professor Caladade that they need to prepare rubric for the field exam. But the outcast was laying on the chair without even caring. He told Claire to make something from her lab and do it. He thought about regretting signing the agreement to teach. She left with disappointment. Scene shifted. Ed was asking permission to enter the Ophilus Hall. Because Ed is trustworthy, Alice gave permission to enter. Without hiding, he said he is here because of a future danger about him going to visit the Roth Taylor mansion. The maids were stunned, and the senior maid ran inside in a hurry. He was once killed by his father, but this time he needs to wipe them out. Originally, the one who threatens him is Princess Phoenia. Princess Phoenia uses her authority and insight to reveal his true intentions in broad daylight. She would create a justifiable reason to persecute him. For sacrificing humans, performing forbidden research, and working with the evil god. But now, she isn't making any moves. In the first place, she didn't even become student council president, so there's no reason for her to clash with the Roth Taylors. In that case, Ed needs to create a reason himself. Alice asked Ed if she had a question. At that time, the senior maid shows a thumbs up to Alice from sticking out from Lucy's room. So Alice decided to ask it later. He entered the room and he was stunned by a sight. Lucy has now had a complete change in her appearance. He asked her why she is not visiting Cam lately. He expressed how he likes her new look. Then he asked Lucy to come with him to his house and meet his father after the exams. Maid and Lucy were shocked, like he was going to introduce her as a girlfriend or something. Understanding the situation, he said it phrased wrong. His life is in danger, so he came to ask the help of Lucy because he trusts her. Disappointment showed in Lucy's face, and he said he planned to dethrone Crepin Roth Taylor. Lucy asked with cold expression, "Is it for revenge?" But he replied, "It is for survival." After dethroning him, Tanya will be the next head, so he will be in a safe position. He asked Lucy to invest in him, but she replied that she is not interested in investing or power. But if she helps him, that is only because she wants to help him. In exchange, she asked him to help her to not be consumed by emptiness. But he asked how he did that. She replied, "Give her a reason to live." She showed her pinky for a promise. He reached his hand and gave him pinky promise. The cold, refreshing wind passed through the window. She asked him to stay like this for some time. Days passed and exam day arrived. He told Janica, "We are enemies." With sudden shock, she asked why. He replied, "It's nothing. He is only trying to become better than her." She smiled and said she will also try her best. With determination in her voice, "I am the best student in her hometown. She will not back down." The scene shifted to Assistant Professor Claire's office. She was exhausted from the overtime. In another scene, Clebius was sitting on the floor like a ghost, because he made a mistake in the swordsmanship exam, calling himself dumb and stupid. Second-year student Elvira opened the door and shouted at Clebius how long he is planning to be depressed. Prepare for field exam. She came at the wrong time to ask Claire about the elemental magic formula. Clebius was nagging, "I'm scranned. I'm going to lose the top spot." Roth Taylor, "You think I'm worthless too, right?" Elvira yelled at him to stop whining. Halliday entered the office room while scratching his head. Claire stood up suddenly like a scared cat. He said he was told that everything was done under the youngest professor, so they told me to do something. So I'm getting paid, and I will do some work for the field exam. He looked at Ed and asked him, "You are Ed Roth Taylor, right? Want to fight?" The scene shifted to the next day at the exam hall. So students with shock expressions said, "Third-year student Ed and Professor Halliday are fighting." Everyone, including Tanya, was present to witness the fight. Halliday entered the arena whining about his hangover. Someone from the crowd said his another name is the Mad Dog. He launched an attack against Ed. Then the professor's eyes and body lights in blue energy. He casted a mid-level lightning magic flash. The arena was full of light that no one could see anything, but Ed managed to dodge. Then suddenly the professor appeared in front of him with a lightning speed, casted a basic impact shockwave spell. Ed blocked it with defense magic. Ed then casted a fireball and launched an attack. The professor was impressed by his basic magic. But with surprise he noticed Ed blocked his vision through fire magic, then Ed used an explosion attack. Mad Dog is now impressed and casts a water bullet, and Ed is blocked with a fireball at the same time. The floor was completely covered with smoke, and Ed tried to concentrate. He saw different shadows of the professor. By concentrating, he understood it was all fake ice statues. He casted a basic aspectual magic called forced concentration. Fakes are destroyed, and even Professor seemed surprised. Ed was struck by a wind magic, and was thrown into the floor. Professor mocked him. "Are you only going to use only elemental magic?" The professor was really impressed with Ed. He asked him to use combat magic. And with a growing golden aura, he said if you are still on 2 legs after 10 minutes, you get a perfect score. Scene shifted to past of the professor. The war is over, and the reign of Emperor Cloel continued. The guardian Obel and the 3 war heroes set out for Ciliania Academy. They all took up teaching roles to train the next generation, but what could I teach them? To these sheltered children, I can't force them to train their mana sensitivity all night, and I can't teach them how to kill or how to survive. I fought with the school, and even the students, over many things. I left soon after. After that, I wandered the lawless Cohelton region, acting as a bounty-hunting adventurer, until Sylvania's request for me to become a professor, after the death of my own lifelong friend Glast. I came back, but not much has changed. Glast died without leaving anything behind, and there wasn't much for me to do. I just wanted the easy pay, so Khaled asked the assistant Professor Claire. It was the students who stood Vu Glast in his final moments? She replied it was correct, and Professor Glast was quite fond of Ed. That impresses Khaled the mad dog. Now he wants to unlock the full potential of the student Ed. He shouted, "Show everything you got, and survive for 10 minutes. But to his surprise, Ed launched a mana arrow. Professor was surprised. He thought elemental studies is not his specialities. Then Ed casted a jaguar spirit to attack. Professor was really impressed how Ed changed his tactics after realizing his magic was disadvantage. Ed moved in front of the professor with a lightning speed and charged a magic attack, but the professor stopped it just before hitting face. Impressed, Professor asked show him more. At the time Ed called a name Mug. Sudden explosion happened. It thrown away the professor. After smoke cleared, proud Mug sit on Ed's shoulder. Professor is impressed more. With a laugh, he summoned a huge lightning. Ed and Mug were stunned. Tanya was shocked to see this, why everyone call him Mad Dog, and this kind of attack against a student. Golden thunder falls from the sky to Arena. He was using a high-ranked magic called Divine Punishment. The tiered professor in the smoke thought, did I overdo it? Is he still okay? But to his surprise, a wind attack came through the smoke and made a cut on his space. He was surprised to see Ed's fighting inspiring when he saw Ed is preparing an attack with his staff. Now he understood why Glast have interest in Ed. That fire in his eyes is something that Sam only be seen in those who have experienced that. Ed summoned a spirit and charged against the Mad Dog. Mad Dog blocked it with Ice Wall. Suddenly, few cuts formed in the wall. Ed slashed it using wind magic. The Mad Dog saw the look with determination in Ed's eye. The both exchanged some serious blows. Professor attacked Ed with fire magic, but Ed's hand came through the fire to attack. Ed activated Blessing of Recovery. Temporary immunity to flames greatly increases. He casted an explosion. Mad Dog's face widened with joy. Explosion hit Mad Dog and he flew to a long distance. But suddenly, Mad Dog appeared behind Ed and casted a high-ranking ice magic, Permafrost. It frozen Ed's high-ranking spirit. Ed tried to resist, but Mad Dog said, it is too late. Then suddenly a person jumped to Arena and blocked Mad Dog's attack. It was Dake Enpelin, fourth-year faculty of combat, valedictorian, and senior student council member. He shouted, "You gone too far." 10 minutes have passed. With worry, Tanya holded her brother in her shoulder. Khaled said, I have gone too far, but Ed, you got the full score. Ed was surprised. Professor put his hand on Ed's shoulder and said, now I know why Glast was fond of you. He asked why a noble like Ed is like this. Ed replied he needs to survive because of personal problems. But he was not asking about the camp. But he lived like he is in war. I don't know what it is, but you'd better quit as soon as possible. The screams still pierce through the walls, no matter how peaceful everything may seem. He opened his liquor bottle, and while walking he said, staying in such a place for too long will turn you into a degenerate who can't live without being drunk on something, just like me. Everyone looked at him with his surprised words. While walking, Professor said Ed was really impressive. Tanya, with anger, said, I am going to formally protest against the academy. I'll make sure I see this through till the end. Tanya was trying to free Ed's legs from ice, but Dake surprisingly thought he was not trying to unfreeze using fire magic, but he was casting a holy magic to attack and gathering mana. If I didn't interfere, who would truly win? He offered his hand and both exchanged a handshake. He appreciated Ed by his abilities. The exam is over. All that is left is for the results to be revealed. At the staff room, Khaled gave the result to Anis and asked to post them for him. She looked at the top 20 students list. On the third-year ranking, Ed Roth Taylor second was Janica. Ed thought about his hard work for the past months and preparing for the future threats. He was confused with his thoughts. Janica calls Ed's name with happiness. She congratulated Ed for the first place. and she is happy you got her second place. With serious face, he catched her hand and walked towards somewhere. Janica was surprised about the act. After reaching a place with no one around, he asked her, did she bombed exam on purpose? With innocent words she explained that she did it because if she can't have the scholarship and disciplinary action from dorms, and she thought it was best for Ed. He grinded his teeth, but coming to his senses, he said, thanks. Suddenly Anis came between them. She remembered her about the plan they had to go to the bakery. She catched Janica's hand and run away with her. After reaching another side, Anis told you just messed up because she liked Ed. But Janica replied she was happy about that. But Anis replied he didn't make it to the top show. You just put him there. Even if she had faith in him, he must let him do it on his own. Janica's face darkened with sadness at the mistake she made. At night, on the camp, Ed was sitting in front of the campfire with lots of depressed thoughts about the recent fight with the professor and the military war on his previous life. He stood up with a serious expression that he wanted to make everything right. Scene shifted to the royal palace. At the palace hall, Princess knelt before the emperor and apologized for she had to leave before Fionia arrives from university. He replied, but visiting the Duchy of Roth Taylor would be a more worthwhile decision. Use of your time. But House Roth Taylor is the greatest duchy on the continent. It is a tool I must master before I become emperor myself. Many nobles will join the upcoming parties, but if I had to rank them, that family would be at the top. The patriarch Crepin and the first ever freshman to become the student council president of Cylania, Tanya Roth Taylor. There was a son who was supposed to return as well, but he was kicked out previously. After that, she walked away. At the Ophilis Hall, Ed was walking along with his sister. A guard welcomed them. After entering the room, they saw the beautiful Princess Fionia. They bowed and paid respect. He tried to explain why he came today, but pausing his words, the princess said he was the reason for his expulsion from his family. Her recognition will make it easier for his return as well. He asked her for help to return to nobility. He knew Lucy and his strength alone wouldn't help him return to the Roth Taylor family. What solves the most is a noble coming from power. Her recognition of Ed will make it difficult for anyone to oppose his return. She asked him to give her regards to Crepin Roth Taylor. She handed him an envelope. She did that before they made her request. He was surprised. The letter was not sealed, but it carried the trust of her authority. Janica was preparing food outside the cabin. He locked his cabin and laid traps. Seeing Ed makes her happy. She called Ed. She prepared stew for them. He asked with worry, "Why are you like walking on eggshells around me?" She was startled to hear this. Is it because she gave up first rank? She tried to act normal, but with a worried face she said, it's really because she thought he hates her. Tears formed in her eyes. By calming her, he said she's the only one who knows more about him. He can't hate her, even if she messes up. She is special to him. That really made her happy, and she blushed. She was not going home. In that case, he asked her to come home with him. 2 days later, in a horse cart, they were traveling to Roth Taylor family. Tanya was frightened by the scary aura of Janica. Janica was furious and jealous about Lucy sleeping in Ed's lap. Janica tried to pull away Lucy by saying it is dangerous to sleep that way. But Lucy didn't let go of Ed. Janica was trying her best. Tanya was scared by this sight. At last, throwing away Lucy, Janica held onto Ed's lap. Tanya was scared like a cat on the background. At night they set a camp and Lucy was tagging on his back. Suddenly Lucy said Janica to give a rest. Her spirits are crawling around the camp to give report. Janica was humiliated by this. In the past, while Ed was bathing, some spirits were watching and noting report on a notepad. Janica was self-humiliated about spying. At present, Janica told in a humiliated tone, "Spirit are doing that on their own." But our Lucy told her she was able to stop, but you were scheming. It ensures his own safety. Janica relieved and said to Lucy, "See, Ed won't mind it." But breaking her peace, he replied, but he don't expect her to get all his details. Lucy told in Janica's ears, scheming. Lucy cornered her and repeated the word scheming. Ed pinched Lucy's ears and told her to stop. Then with a serious tone, he said the mansion is nearby. They need to plan about finding Crepin Roth Taylor's guilt. Next day they reached a huge mansion with 6 buildings. They exited from the cart. Ed gave the luggage to the butler, but it slipped from the butler's hand and dropped. The frightened butler kneeled and apologized. All the maid were scared and apologized. Butler begged for his life. But to Butler's surprise, Ed said he will carry it himself. They were stunned to hear this from their Krell master Ed. They entered the mansion. In a throne, Crepin welcomes them with a sinister smile. With a scary face, he called Ed my son. In the mansion, everyone was looking at a picture on the wall. Tanya said you really hated this portrait when he lived here in the mansion. It was Arwen Roth Taylor, Ed's elder sister. She is no more in this world, but he is curious about why her portrait up here. Does Crepin miss her daughter, or he simply wishes to pay respect to the best model? Crepin's voice was heard. He was walking down the steps and asked about their journey. With a smile he said, I missed you, Ed, my son. He asked an apology that the mansion is not in order right now because of a large party happening tomorrow. Servants were busy, and please understand the situation. Ed told sorry for arriving in a busy time, but Crepin replied, this is the reason he wanted Ed to be here. He wanted to show his son proudly to everyone. He asked if they must be his son's friends. Janica was startled, and Lucy didn't mind. With tremble voice, Janica introduced. He replied he heard the name of the famous spirit sorcerer, and looked at Lucy and said, you must be Lucy, Tanya mentioned in letters. By breaking conversation, Lucy replied, Lucy Merrill, with a never-mind voice. By that action, a sudden silence formed in the meeting hall. Controlling his anger, Crepin said, Ed have some interesting friends. He want to leave because the Frost Princess Salaha arrived. He told Ed that he left his room untouched. Before he leaving, he gave the letter to his father. At another place, Crepin and Princess Salaha was having conversation. He showed a letter with no seal to Princess. She was surprised and thought, a symbol of absolute trust. Has Crepin Roth Taylor, the noble powerhouse, already sided with Phonia? Breaking the silence, he said he is the one received the letter, and she must be curious to know who delivered it. In next scene, Ed was standing in front of his room, with some things going on his mind. Before he entered the room, Lucy opened the room and jumped to his bed for sleeping. He checked Ed Roth Taylor's mansion. It surprised me how much the room has remained unchanged, despite our ties having been severed. Well, maybe it's not that weird, given that Arwen Roth Taylor's room has also gone untouched. He looked in a drawer and tried to open it, but it was locked. Lucy opened it with her magic power. Nobody knows what happens to this idiot who vanishes from sight early on. But it was obvious that he lived a pitiful life. But everything that happened before the scenario is unknown to me. The letters were sent to Arwen. In the letters the content was, I was killed at this rate. What meaning is there to a life that is designed to be cut short? What value can that life be given as it simply awaits its promised death? My journey as a member of the house ends here. He made up in his mind by reading letters. He must now act as the Red Ed Roth Taylor. Scene shifted. Lucy and a mage were fighting. The old lady was matriarch of House Bloomliver, Sinner Bloomliver from the House of the Witches. However, Lucy destroyed all her attacks with a simple attack. Matriarch was shocked to see Lucy without even a single scratch. And Lucy asked, are we done now? Matriarch showed her gratitude to Lord Crepin for the opportunity. She said, my children in Sylvania could not stop talking about her, so I wanted to see for myself. Crepin replied, don't worry, I too think it was worth the watch. Then Lucy jumped to Ed's lap and by hugging him he started sleeping. Crepin with surprise said, you have some peculiar friends. She seems tired now. I wish to speak with her during dinner if she's not too tired. Everyone stood up, and Crepin appreciated about the show. Ed placed her in her bed and left outside. Suddenly he heard a voice calling his name. It was Janica. She let spirits roam around, as Ed asked. Suddenly, he closed her mouth with his hand and told her to enter into his room. She becomes shy and asked, "To your room right now?" The poor girl didn't understand the situation. After entering the room, he said, "We can speak without worry here." Suddenly a voice heard. It was Princess. She said, "It is occupied, not ideal for secret meeting." Both of them kneeled. By showing the letter, I don't need to explain, do I? Will you continue to stay in that sinking ship, Ed Roth Taylor?